My 3-year-old daughter stood in front of my parents' Christmas tree with wet, silent tears in her eyes because everyone else got gifts, and she got nothing. Not from Grandma, not from Grandpa, not from my brother. Just me. And when she finally broke and started to cry, my family didn't comfort her. They blamed me. Then my brother looked right at my little girl and said, "Did you really expect us to love Elly like we love Tommy?" This Christmas, I have a table full of food, a stack of wrapped presents taller than my kitchen chair, and a man humming softly while he washes dishes like he lives here. Because he does. Sam's shoulders are relaxed in that quiet way that makes you feel like the world isn't about to fall apart. My daughter Elly is already in her pajamas, hair still damp from her bath, tucked into the blanket fort we built in the living room. She keeps peeking out, giggling, whispering, "Mommy, is Santa coming tonight?" And I smile like a normal mom. Like someone who isn't carrying a bruise that still hurts when the weather changes. But my phone is face down on the counter, and I keep glancing at it like it might bite. Because tomorrow is Christmas. And somewhere across town, in the same house I grew up in, my parents are probably arranging the exact same ornaments, the exact same plates, the exact same perfect holiday atmosphere for photos. The kind of house that looks warm online. The kind of family that looks like love in a frame. And yet last Christmas, my daughter was the only person in the room who got treated like she didn't belong. I want to call them. I do. I miss the idea of family. The feeling of being someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone who has a place at the table without having to earn it. But then I remember Elly's face. Not loud crying, not tantrum crying, not spoiled crying. The kind of crying a child does when they're trying to understand why the world suddenly feels unsafe. I flip the kettle on just to do something with my hands. Sam comes up behind me and kisses my temple. "You okay?" he asks gently. I say the truth, the safe truth. "Just thinking." He doesn't push. He never does. He just slides his arms around my waist and stands there with me in the quiet. And suddenly, I'm not in my kitchen anymore. I'm back in my parents' living room, back to my first Christmas home after moving from New York. Back to the night I learned that some families only love you when you don't embarrass them. Last year, I came home because I couldn't afford New York anymore. I know people romanticize it, this city that makes you feel like you're living in a movie. But for a single mom with no safety net, it becomes something else, a constant math problem with a deadline. Rent, childcare, subway fare, groceries, winter coats, the little cough medicine bottle that costs more than it should. I worked 2 jobs, one during the day and one in the evenings. Some nights I'd bring Elly home so tired that I'd sit on the floor still wearing my coat while she played beside me, and I'd just stare. Not because I didn't love her. Because I loved her so much it scared me. I wasn't just responsible for my life anymore. I was responsible for hers. Every choice mattered. Every mistake had consequences. And yes, her father left me, the same day I told him I was pregnant. I still remember the exact way his face changed. Like the word baby flipped a switch inside him. He went from boyfriend to stranger in 2 breaths, said something about not being ready, and walked out like I'd asked him to take out the trash. My family supported me at first. They sent me a few boxes of diapers. They told me they were praying for me. They said they were proud of me for being strong. But after he left, that support curdled into anger. Not at him. At me. Like I had personally humiliated them by picking the wrong man. Like I should have had some supernatural ability to predict who would abandon their child. When I finally admitted I couldn't keep up in New York, my mom called it coming to my senses. My brother called it finally doing something responsible. My dad said nothing, which, if you grew up in my house, you know can be louder than yelling. Still, I told myself Christmas would be a fresh start. First Christmas together as a family, a warm dinner, Elly running around in her little holiday dress, my parents holding her and finally melting, finally realizing she was just a child who wanted love. I wanted it so badly that I ignored the warning signs. I bought gifts for everyone. Not cheap gifts either. Not because I'm rich. I'm not. but because I was trying to show them I was grateful. I wanted them to see I wasn't a burden. I wanted to arrive with my arms full and my head down and my heart open. For my mom, a scarf she'd pointed at in a store window weeks earlier. For my dad, a set of tools he'd mentioned needing. For my brother, a fancy watch band he'd been talking about. For my sister-in-law, a spa gift set. For Tommy, my brother's 10-year-old, a set of wireless headphones he'd begged for. And for Elly, I bought a dollhouse, a beautiful one, big enough for tiny furniture, painted windows, a little staircase. I imagined her sitting on the carpet, making up stories for the dolls, safe and happy. I wrapped it in sparkly paper and tied a bow that looked like a flower. I even wrote, "From Santa," on the tag, because Elly was at the age where magic still worked. When we arrived, my mom hugged me just long enough for a picture. She held Elly's cheeks between her palms and said, "There's my girl," like she was auditioning for Grandmother of the Year. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine. The tree was glowing. Everything was perfect. And that's what made it worse. Because perfect-looking families can still be cruel. We sat in the living room after dinner, everyone with drinks, everyone smiling too brightly. My mom, who always had to host like it was a performance, clapped her hands and said, "All right, gift time." She made us sit in a circle like we were in kindergarten. Tommy was practically bouncing. My brother's wife, pretty and polished and effortless, kept adjusting her hair as if someone might take a photo. My mom started passing out gifts. 1 for my dad, 2 for my dad, 3. My dad laughed, surprised, saying, "Oh, come on," but he didn't mean it. He liked it. 1 for my mom, 2, 3, 4. My brother got a stack. His wife got a stack. Tommy got a mountain. Every gift had a dramatic reveal. Every gift had applause. My mom kept saying, "Oh, isn't that perfect?" And my dad kept saying, "Wow," like it was his job. Elly sat on my lap at first, small and warm, her hands resting on my arm. She watched the gifts move around the circle with that fascinated, hopeful look kids get, like the world is about to hand them something wonderful. I kept waiting for someone to hand her a box, a tiny one, a stuffed animal, a book, anything. But the gifts kept circling past her like she was invisible. At some point, Elly slid off my lap and sat on the carpet. She tucked her legs under her, eyes wide, watching Tommy rip paper like it was a sport. Tommy opened a tablet. A tablet. My mom leaned forward, practically glowing. "We knew you'd love it." Tommy didn't say thank you. He stared at it and frowned. "I wanted it in black," he said. "Not white." My brother chuckled like it was cute. "Tommy's got taste." My mom laughed nervously, the kind of laugh you do when someone is ungrateful but you refuse to acknowledge it. I looked at Elly. She wasn't crying yet. She wasn't even pouting. She was just watching. And then she looked up at me. Not with anger, with confusion. Her eyes were filling slowly like cups under a dripping faucet. She pressed her lips together, trying to be brave, trying to make sense of the rules. I could see the question in her face. "Mommy, did I do something wrong?" I leaned down and whispered, "It's okay, sweetheart. Santa's gifts are special. We'll do ours soon." But Elly kept looking around. She watched my mom hand another gift to Tommy, another gift to my dad, another gift to my brother's wife. And then she looked at my mom, her grandma, with those glossy eyes, waiting. My mom avoided her gaze. That's when Elly's lip trembled. She didn't scream. She didn't throw herself on the floor. She just made a small sound like a hiccup of pain, and tears rolled down her cheeks. And the room changed, like someone had turned the music off. My brother sighed dramatically. My sister-in-law's smile tightened. One of my aunts muttered, "Oh my God." My mom's face hardened, not with concern, but with annoyance. "Really?" she said, not to Elly, to me. I scooped Elly up, wiping her cheeks with my thumb. Hey, it's okay, baby." And then my dad spoke. Not gentle, not curious, sharp. "Can you control your child?" he snapped. I froze. Elly clung to my neck, her sobs getting a little louder now because the room suddenly felt hostile. "She's tired," I said, voice shaking. She's overwhelmed. My dad cut me off. She's spoiled. That word hit me like a slap. My mom leaned forward and said, Amanda, this is exactly what we mean. You let her run the show. I stared at them, like maybe I'd misheard. Like maybe in the next second someone would laugh and say, Of course we have gifts for Elly, we were just saving them. But my brother who always loved being the judge of my life, set down his drink and looked straight at me. Why is she crying? He asked too calmly. I swallowed. My throat burned. Because everyone got gifts and she didn't. My mom waved a hand like I'd accused her of murder. Amanda, she's 3. She won't remember. My aunt chimed in. Kids don't even understand Christmas at that age. I looked down at Elly's face, wet and red, and I wanted to scream. She understands being left out, I said quietly. She understands when people ignore her. She understands being left out, I said quietly. She understands when people ignore her. My brother leaned back and said it, the sentence that still echoes in my head a year later. Did you really expect us to love Elly as we love Tommy? I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. For a moment, the room blurred. My mom didn't protest. My dad didn't correct him. They just sat there like he'd said something obvious. My brother continued, voice getting colder. Tommy's our family. He's from a real marriage. You got pregnant by a guy who left you the same day you told him? Do you expect everyone to just pretend that isn't disgusting? It's a shame for our family. Elly's sobs got quiet, small and scared, like she felt the danger in the air. I heard my own heartbeat in my ears. I felt heat rush to my face. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to say, I didn't plan to do this alone. I didn't choose to be abandoned. I didn't choose to struggle. I wanted to say, Elly is not your punishment. But nothing came out. My eyes filled and I hated myself for it. Because crying in my family was like handing someone a weapon. My mom sighed and said, Amanda, don't make this about money. Don't be mercantile. It's not healthy. Mercantile, like I was greedy for wanting my child to be acknowledged. My hands were shaking. Elly's little fingers were fisted in my sweater, holding on like I was the only solid thing in a room full of strangers. I stood up slowly. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't say a dramatic speech that would have satisfied a movie audience. I just couldn't stay. I looked at my mother one last time and saw what I'd been refusing to see. She didn't feel guilty. She felt inconvenienced, like my pain was ruining her holiday, so I carried Elly to the door, put her coat on, pulled my own coat on with clumsy fingers. No one stopped me. No one said, Wait, Amanda, we didn't mean it. My dad called after me, You always do this. You always cause drama. I didn't answer, because if I opened my mouth, I knew I'd fall apart right there on their perfect hardwood floor. I drove home with Elly sniffling in the back seat, asking in a tiny voice, Mommy, did Santa forget me? And that's when something in me cracked. Not in a weak way, in a dangerous way, because when a mother realizes her child can be hurt by people she trusted, something changes. The next morning, I woke up with the heavy feeling of a hangover, even though I hadn't had more than a glass of water. My phone was full of notifications. Not one of them was an apology. My mom had texted, Are you seriously not coming back today? My brother had texted, Grow up. One of my aunts had texted, You need to learn respect for your parents. No one asked if Elly was okay. No one asked if I was okay. Elly woke up like children do, still hopeful, still capable of joy, even when adults disappoint them. She padded into the kitchen in her pajamas and said, Is Santa coming today? I looked at the dollhouse wrapped under our tiny little tree in our apartment, the only gift she had, and I remembered the circle, the laughter, the tablet, the words. Did you expect us to love her like we love Tommy? My chest hurt so much I felt nauseous. I could have stayed in bed and cried. I could have saved my money and explained Christmas gently, like so many parents have to do when life is hard. But I couldn't stand the idea of her remembering that feeling, the feeling of being the only one left out. So I put on jeans, grabbed my coat, and drove to the toy store. I walked in with a tight, aching determination. I didn't shop like someone with a budget. I shopped like someone trying to rewrite a memory. A small drum and xylophone set because Elly loved music. A teddy bear with soft fur and a red bow. A building block constructor set. A drawing set with markers and stickers. A little book with shiny pages because she loved bedtime stories. My total came to just over $300. I stared at the screen as the cashier waited, and I felt my stomach drop. That money was my cushion. My just in case. My safety. But I swiped my card anyway, because in that moment it felt like I was choosing Elly's heart over my own survival. When we got home, I hid the gifts in my closet and made Elly lunch from the little food we had left. Mac and cheese, apple slices. Then that afternoon, I pretended Santa had been delayed. I put on my best cheerful voice and said, "Sweetie, guess what? Santa was late." Elly's eyes went wide. "Why?" "Snowstorm," I said. "Big one, and the reindeer wanted to sleep." She gasped, like this was the most logical thing she'd ever heard. I laid the gifts under the tree while she watched, bouncing in place. When she opened them, her joy was pure, uncomplicated, like the world could still be kind. She hugged the teddy bear so hard she almost toppled over. She hit the drum and laughed. She lined up markers on the floor like they were treasure. And I sat there smiling. Smiling? Smiling. Then, after she finally fell asleep, I went into the kitchen and opened the fridge. It was almost empty, not the diet empty, not the we need to shop empty, the kind of empty where you can see the back wall. There was food for Elly, because I would always make sure there was food for her. But for me, a few leftovers, a carton of eggs, some ketchup packets, a half bag of crackers. I made a cup of tea and ate crackers for dinner like it was normal, like it was fine, like I wasn't terrified. Christmas came and went, then New Year's Eve arrived. I wanted to make it special, so I cooked what I could. I gave Elly the good portion. I sat across from her with my tea, pretending I wasn't hungry. At 8:30, I brushed her teeth and tucked her in. She whispered, "Love you, Mommy." "I love you more," I whispered back. At 9 o'clock, I was alone in my living room with dim lights, a quiet TV, and a sadness so thick it felt like a blanket I couldn't shake off. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. "I am sorry, honey, we didn't want to offend you, but you shouldn't be so mercantile. Please come to dinner with us. We want to meet New Year without fights and in good relations. We're waiting." And here's a gift for Elly. Attached, a photo. A Walmart gift card. $10. That was it. That was their gift to their granddaughter for Christmas. $10 after buying my nephew a tablet. $10 after watching my child cry. $10 after letting my brother shame me and my daughter like we were dirty secrets. I stared at my phone until my eyes blurred. I didn't respond. I just cried. Not pretty crying. Not healing crying. The kind of crying where you feel hollow and stupid for ever believing you mattered. And in that moment, I realized something. If I went back now, they would learn that they could do anything to me, anything to Elly, and I would still crawl back for scraps of love. So I stopped. I didn't call. I didn't visit. I didn't keep the peace. My mother sent a few more passive-aggressive texts over the next months. My brother posted family photos online like nothing happened. My father stayed silent, and slowly my world got smaller, but safer. Somewhere in the middle of that lonely year, I met Sam. Not in some dramatic rom-com way, through friends, a normal introduction at a normal gathering where I almost didn't go because I was tired and broke and convinced my life was just work and motherhood and survival. Sam didn't come on strong. He didn't try to be a hero. He just showed up. He asked me questions and listened to the answers. He remembered little details, like Elly's favorite color, like the fact that I liked my coffee with too much cream. The first time he came over, he brought Elly a little book. Not expensive, not flashy, just thoughtful. And my throat tightened because that was all I'd ever wanted my family to do. See her. Over time, Sam became part of our nights, part of our routines, part of our home. He learned how Elly liked her blanket tucked under her chin. He learned the exact way to read her bedtime story so she wouldn't interrupt with 100 questions. Sometimes I'd stand in the hallway and watch him tuck her in, his voice calm, Elly's eyes heavy with safety. And I'd think, this is what love looks like. Quiet, consistent, not performative. One night after Elly fell asleep, I finally told him everything. The circle, the gifts, the tablet, the words. I expected him to look shocked, to look angry, to tell me I should forgive them. He listened quietly, his jaw tight, his eyes sad. When I finished, he didn't say, "But they're your family." He said, "That's not love, Amanda, that's cruelty." I swallowed hard. Sometimes I wonder if I overreacted. He shook his head slowly. "You protected your daughter." Then he gave me the only advice that didn't feel like pressure. "Do what your heart says," he told me. "But don't confuse guilt with love." And now here I am, 1 year later. Elly is 4 now, still small, still bright, still trusting. Sam is here, and we have more stability. I don't work myself into the ground anymore. I don't stare at empty fridges. I don't count pennies in the grocery aisle. We've wrapped a ridiculous number of gifts for Elly, the kind of Christmas I always wanted to give her without destroying myself. But tonight, as I watch Sam carry a tray of cookies to the table and Elly giggle in her blanket fort, that old ache returns. Because I miss my mom sometimes, not the passive-aggressive version, the version I wish she was. I miss having a father, even if he was quiet. I miss the idea that someone out there is mine by blood and would show up if I needed them. And yes, it makes me sad to think Elly doesn't have grandparents in her life. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, maybe I expected too much? Then I remember, I didn't expect money. I didn't expect expensive gifts. I expected basic respect. I expected them not to treat a toddler like she was a stain on the family name. I expected them to love a child, or at least not punish her for the choices of adults. Now my phone is still face down on the counter. And I'm standing at the same edge I stood at last year. Except this time, I'm not running away in tears. This time, I'm choosing. Do I call them and risk reopening the door to that pain? Do I let them back in because I'm lonely? Because it's Christmas? Because society worships the idea of family? Or do I keep the boundary I built when I realized my daughter's heart mattered more than my mother's comfort? Sam looks at me from across the kitchen like he can feel my thoughts without hearing them. He doesn't tell me what to do. He just waits, steady as a lighthouse. Elly calls from the living room, "Mommy, come see, the teddy bear is sitting like a princess." I laugh softly and walk to her, crouching down, brushing her hair back. She looks up at me and smiles, completely unaware of the war happening in my chest. And that's the point. She deserves a childhood that doesn't revolve around earning love. So I'm asking you, because I know people have opinions, and I know someone out there has lived something like this. If you were me, would you call them? Would you try to rebuild a relationship with a family that treated your child like she didn't matter? Or would you protect your peace and your kid's heart, even if it means spending holidays without blood relatives? Was cutting them off the right decision? Or am I letting one horrible Christmas define everything?
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.